SSPRIT group, who met with Mr. Bronny and myself on 2 occasions, and we've had some follow-up conversation. If you recall, this all kind of came about as a result of the board's desire to provide an educational component to this decision-making process and the Mascot change. So kind of from the start, our intention had been to work with the group to do some student interaction at the high school level. And so our initial planning session was really focused on that. And then during the course of the conversation, the focus changed a little bit and expanded. So the proposal that you have in front of you tonight is a more ambitious, comprehensive professional development plan as presented. It is more than what the board, I think, had originally envisioned when we talked about this. It is ambitious. I will express some concern that there's some time sensitivity to making things happen, as the board is now faced with a timeline that they have created for themselves to make a decision. It's been reinforced by comments from students, including our student board rep, that the student body at the school would really like to see this get resolved. I can tell you that we have not budgeted. The comment was just made about funding source. There's no budget currently existing to support an ambitious professional development plan. And truthfully, we do have to be somewhat conscious of what we're already asking our teachers to do, which is quite a bit across the board. And if it were something that were really as comprehensive as what's being discussed and proposed, then I think there would need to be elements of it at the elementary, around California history, for the traditional 4th grade curriculum that's offered there. There certainly should be, so there should not be a void at the middle school level. And then, as we originally discussed, there's a definitive need at the high school because of the whole Mascot issue. So I guess my thought at this time was the most urgent and necessary component of this is the original one, to get into the high school and have conversations with high school students, which is where we started our conversation. Following that, if there's a desire on the part of the board to do something additionally, I would ask that we have time to meld it into our professional development plans along with technology and transition to Common Core state standards in preparation for SPAC, because, and we have a couple teachers in the room tonight, I feel an obligation to be sensitive to the amount of work that we are asking of them. And I also want to recognize this topic, the topic of Native American history, as also being of importance. Any comments?
Go ahead. No, you go first. I thought this was going to be a volunteer thing. I didn't know anything about any fee that was going to come down the road. That was never discussed in the beginning when they were wanted to speak to the students with this later on proposal here with the amount of money that's brought to us. Not only that, it's public money here, money that could be used elsewhere. Our budget constraints right now with an additional $15,000. I can't see us paying this. They would like to volunteer their time in the schools, that's fine, but this is a great amount of money right here.
I was going to just ask a question, and I was going to ask it of the coalition group. Is this the same curriculum that you proposed and are delivering in Vallejo School District?
Yes.
Exactly the same?
Not exactly.
No? Is this grander or smaller or?
Actually, it's a little bit different in the sense that we didn't go in and do a mascot discourse in the very beginning like we've already done with administration. They just chose their mascot right away, and that was it.
Okay.
They brought us in much later. It is a process, as you know, with the board meetings and stuff. So in that sense, it's different. As far as like K through 12, elementary, middle, high school, we've proposed that to them. They have it. They've started us with professional development with instructors in the hopes of breaking down into student focus groups. So they're starting with professional development.
Right.
Right. So Once we've done that, then we're gonna move further along on the proposal, but they have approved it. And the budget was a little bit different. They had money set aside for cultural education, and so they took that from that part of their budget, and that was a $10,000 contract.
Well, this seems amazing to me, but our teachers, again, we have to be, this is something I wish that we could phase in, you know, but, our teachers.
And answering your question, if I could,
Go ahead.
we're going to decolonize mascots in school systems, no matter if we're getting paid or not.
Right.
This is something that is offered as a supplement for the transition in the mascot. So we don't go to schools expecting or demanding money, because we're gonna do the mascot decolonization work anyway.
Right.
It's a bonus that can, something that the school districts, the students, and the community can use and learn from. It's something that's of knowledge sharing. And because we've already dedicated 100+ hours into the community, we've already offered our services for free for a year's time. And it's not up to the Indigenous to continually educate non-Indigenous people for free. We also have bills to pay and rent and food that we need to eat and everything. And so this is only if these districts choose to provide those teachable moments.
Right.
It doesn't sway our work in any way.
No, I wasn't even alluding to that. I was just wondering, you know, what, because I remember a gentleman from the Vallejo School Board came to talk to us
Victor Mumpson.
about a year ago almost.
Yes.
And he was saying that you were very instrumental in helping his board decide to change the mascot, and then also to re-educate, to basically enlighten some of their.
Thank you.
their
He
people.
wanted to be here tonight, but he has his own school board meeting. He's on the school board there, so he couldn't make it.
But this seems like something that we maybe could work for, but toward, as far as all this professional development, but our teachers are so, they've got their whole year of professional development already planned and scheduled mostly. So I wouldn't feel comfortable saying, here, why don't you do this too?
Well, the way Vallejo does is they offer it as an option. It's not forced upon them. They can choose that as a professional development workshop that they want to take or not.
Okay.
So,
Thank you.
yes.
So, I would say that we have our differences, but I do believe that the education is very important, and I think that if somebody puts in the time, they should be paid for it.
Thank you.
But I think at this point, what we really need to do is get it in the classrooms fairly quickly. So with our teachers, so is there a way that they can use you as a resource just to get it going? And absolutely, I believe that we need to look at the fourth grade curriculum. And ongoing, we need to look at just every aspect
I
of
think
what
there's
we
an
do.
opportunity to look at the fourth grade curriculum through the lens of the new Common Core standards that will come out on social science.
Okay.
Okay, is there a motion on the proposal from the Sacred Sites Protection and Rights of Indigenous Tribes for mascot transition and professional development?
Well, I wanted to hear more about the superintendent's, you were
What-
saying,
yeah,
what
what
was
you
the
were
original
thinking.
proposal you were talking about? 'Cause I don't.
What do you think that we can do that's effective and
What I thought was the direction of the board, and what I thought served as the genesis for the whole conversation, was getting into some, we basically discussed small student settings, not a whole school assembly kind of an
Right.
environment, but an opportunity to have discourse with high school age students in small or classroom level conversations to basically talk about the perspective of Native American history, and specifically about Indigenous people being represented as mascots.
Right.
I thought that was the singular focus of what we were trying to choreograph, as directed by the board, and in a timely manner before a board decision on a subsequent mascot was to happen. That was the direction that I was pursuing.
how do you think we can fulfill this necessity?
Well, I will commend the Spirit Group for coming to the staff meeting a couple weeks ago and visiting with the John Swett High School staff. Mr. Browning set that up. Thank you for that. If we want to do something relatively quickly, I'd like to see us reconvene as a kind of a planning group and see what we can do on a small scale immediately while the board considers something different down the road, that would be my proposal or recommendation at this time. Certainly, given the time constraints of a decision that is not very far down.
Right.
I agree.
Okay.
So, board,
Do we need to resolve that or just direct it?
I guess we can,
You can simply table this proposal until such time as the board is more readily prepared to address it, and in so doing, address staff to reach out and see if we can reconnect and quickly put something together that is more along the lines of what the board was hopeful to have prior to a November or December
Yeah.
decision. Is that the will of the board?
is that the will of the board?
Yes, it is.
Are you agreeable to?
I'm agreeable to any kind of
Yeah.
continuing education.
Are you talking about a volunteer basis until
No,
the board?
I don't necessarily think it needs to be I don't know, this,
I think I think it should be volunteer, because I thought that's what it was in the beginning, was gonna be volunteer.
Yeah,
And then later on-
they've been doing a lot of volunteering.
Well, then this,
Volunteer us into the streets.
I mean, I'm
Well, we
looking
did
for
meet
them
with the
to-
staff on a voluntary basis, and that was something that was discussed, so.
Would there be a willingness to have one more conversation of some nature on the voluntary basis to see if we can put something together for possibly staff-led dialogue, if not staff collaboratively with SPIRIT representation?
I would have to direct you to my CEO. I can't think.
And
Could there be a motion to approve the pay rate on this proposal?
I don't think you're gonna get that. Is there a motion? Does the board wanna engage in this?
No.
eventually I'd like to, but not right
I mean,
now.
you know, it seems like two of you are determined to make it the Warriors.
I'd say.
That's-
You know, to use
you
that,
know-
so I'm wondering, you know, what,
I'm
wanna pursue
determined
this?
to do what the people within reason want. And I believe that the Warriors is within reason as long as we use it in a responsible manner. It was not my choice, but it is my choice to follow what the majority of the people and the students want.
to lead by following.
No, if it was against my ethics in any way, then we would have a different answer, but it's not.
specific to this item?
Yes,
and
thank
to
you.
immediate
you.
next steps,
Um,
I would like to suggest if there is a willingness to proceed short-term on a voluntary basis, that might be, given what we're hearing from our board this evening, the best opportunity to make some progress.
I would almost say, as long as we're not getting extensively involved in this, at this point, that, I mean, to pay them for their time, to consult at this point on a professional level,
That almost sounds like a different proposal,
and,
not the one that's been put in front of you tonight.
okay.
So, is there a motion on this specific proposal?
I make a motion that we table this until we can discuss it further and discuss, fitting it into our professional development schedule overall and also our budget. On this specific
Okay, so
proposal in front of us.
There's no motion, motion in this particular item, so I guess
Ah.
we table it.
Wasn't that, was that a motion?
I guess it's not, it's an action item.
6 ayes.
Okay, 6I.